we want to talk about scrolls today. We come to the halfpenny scroll now. It has a solid end, round end, that is reduced in width. And that's because we get that snub mass created out of the flat side of the bar and then twist it 90 degrees. And this is actually the easiest way to make a larger snub. I got a progression here before I go into the video and explain the different steps. We start with our bar. We mark off about a square. Since this is, I mark off 3/4. And as we learned before, you can either mark that on your bar, or you make a bar on the end, make a mark on your anvil, and then you visualize the 3/8 and then push it 3/8 over the far edge and make your indentation there and create the step. And then taper that back. We're going again about 3 inches plus the snub that gives about our 3 to 4 inches. That's what I did here. That's good enough. We forge that neck down, not all the way to 1/4. That's what we will end up with, but we just go to 3/8 here, which is about the half of the original width. And we twist it around 90 degrees and we clean up the twist and then start rounding the end. When we clean up the twist, we forge it further down. So if we would have necked it in 1/4, we couldn't clean up the twist anymore. And that's the reason we don't go all the way to 1/4. I show you here just to get off the upper right corner of the square end and the lower left corner. And then we end up with kind of a teardrop. Next step then is to hit, like I've shown here with my little arrows, from the side and from the top side, and start curling in at the same time and round the penny that way. And from there, I go over the far edge and curl this in slowly, exactly the same way that I did before. Some people like to use a scroll jig like shown in the bottom here. I made one at some point, but I actually then after that never used it. This is over the far edge and then correcting as you go. For me personally is a much easier way to do it and quicker. After you got the first curl in here, you turn it over, put it on the flat face of the anvil, hit from the back side, hit to the top. I made me a little sheet here that was just for the video, because then I didn't need to go back and forth between my anvil and the table. I could show how I go closer and closer to what I finally want to achieve. And I have another little scroll jig here that fits my hardy hole that I used, and that was for video purposes too. I usually don't do this on the anvil. If I do it for myself, then I clamp this little bending jig in my vise and work there. How does this work? Again, a little video. Okay, I go to the far end of the anvil. I make my indentation, and as we've seen before, you don't start laying the piece flat on the anvil, hold it up a little bit to have that corner bite in there. And of course, it's a very rounded corner that it doesn't bite too much, that you don't get a cold shut there. Because when you curl in your end, that cold shut can't be corrected anymore. You just have to start over again. This was my first heat on it. And I took a second one to get a little deeper. It wasn't quite where I wanted it. Get the thickness back to constant thickness all over. Then I start beveling the edges a little bit, just because in the final piece it looks better. And this is the best way to do it at this stage. Later on, after you curled it in, it's not that easy. And here's another version of a bending fork that I use a lot. It's just a 3/8, no, it's a half inch round bar from 4140 that I just bent this way. That's easy to make. Clean up the twist on 4 sides. Do a little more tapering, a little more edge cleanup. And then you start rounding your piece. The outside corner. One thing you need to make sure here, it starts to fish lip. This is just a quarter thick, and if you hit it too hard, you get fish lips in a way that you can't reef anymore. So don't hit it too hard. There I had some fish lips that I'm trying to clean out here. Yeah, you really can see it there. That's my teardrop shape. Probably needs a little bit more refinement. You still see the thick edges, so I clean those out a little more. A little more rounding. Now I'm ready to get the teardrop forged to round. When you do the first one, you want to go pretty slow to not mash it up. And then if you do the second and the third, it's getting kind of automatic and it's getting faster too. Here it is round. Now I have my drawing there. I got a little kink there. That's very easy to get. And you need to get that out before you go any further. It's important that the curve of the beginning is exactly right before you go and curl it further, because you will never get there anymore. Here's my brushing strokes again. There was another little kink. And there's 1,000 ways where you can position, how you can position the piece on the anvil to get the kinks out and get more curve somewhere or got less curve. It's just a matter of doing it more often, and then it's kind of getting automatic. I go into some of these later on in the presentation. Here we go, a little more. Put it on there. You see my penny is a little bigger than what's on the drawing, but for the level 2 exercise, it doesn't really matter. It's just if you put 2 of the same kind into your grill, they should be the same, not one small and one big. If I wouldn't have gone with, see there, get a kink out there. I have this little shelf on my anvil. That's very handy for that. But you can also do it on the horn. I show you later. So bend a little more. And you go on and on. If you do that freehand. If you do many of them, you will build a jig. You build a jig in a way that you can hook the penny on the end of the jig, and then it's really very quick to do the whole bend. Little more, and always make sure that the middle is perfect before you go on, because it's much harder to correct on the inside than it is to correct the outside. And I leave it there. I don't want to bore you to go all the way around. I just can say have fun exploring your scrolls. Have some more elaborate ones here to see that you're never done if you learn blacksmithing. Thank you.